great discussions, funny and informative, the most important things about a podcast.
Oh, that's such nice words.
Who are they talking about?
I don't know, not us.
5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Hello and welcome. We are Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello, and Happy New Year's.
And Ryan.
Happy New Year!
There's little, like, streamers and stuff
Just
in our
imagine
podcast
the
area
fireworks
right now.
went off.
Yeah, I'll just add it in post. I'm not going to add it.
Confetti that we'll find forever. We're going to throw some confetti.
No, please
It'll live
no.
here. It'll live here forever.
Not in my house.
Let's just ruin this carpet with confetti, Steven. Good call.
Grind it in
We
throughout
got some
the year.
silly string in the back.
Oh, perfect.
It's expired. I know it is.
Andrew's not silly. Don't go into that.
It's serious string.
Serious string.
Seriously, it's just one block.
It just comes out like a like uncooked pasta. It's just straight pop. There's nothing silly about
It's
it.
got a warning on the side. Not for use by kids. May shoot your eye out.
Yeah, exactly.
What
All
is
right.
silly string made out of?
So let's not
I
question it.
don't want to go into
That's
that
an
one.
existential crisis I can't handle.
Only China knows.
Do they still make it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We got to get this man into like a dollar store.
I got two in my pocket. Look. What if I just carried it around?
just for this moment.
I'm an adult. Of course, I'm carrying some silly string.
Sir, we need to call in an ambulance for one of our podcast hosts that has silly string in his pocket.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a call in an ambulance, but not for me. Breaks out the silly string. Okay, well.
Wow.
Speaking of silly.
Yes.
So this is our year in review episode, and we want to kick it off by thanking all of our patrons who have been wonderful and helpful throughout the year.
Supporting the show.
Supporting
Yes.
the show.
We
If
love all of you.
If you want to hear your name on this and other episodes and other bonus content that we'll get into a little later, just $1 a month, people.
Yep.
Hey, if that's what you're into, it just costs
That's what
$1, you
you're
know?
into.
Hey,
We don't kink shame here.
no.
Oh, gosh. All right, we're going to kick it off here. We got T, Jason, Mark, Travis, Andy, Taylor, Grant, Robert, Sue, Holly, Ken, Baron, Nick, Brian, Christian, Brad, Colin, Andrew, Ethan, T again, Ryan, Nick again, Lady Palatena, Scott, Tyndall, Matthew, and Allison.
Thank you so much.
Huge
That's a-
thank you and shout
We,
out.
we really wouldn't be able to do this without you guys.
No.
Because you guys
no.
do help pay for hosting fees and
and they let us buy random silly. Where's the buzzer? There it is.
Oh,
yeah.
wait. Oh, mine's nowhere near.
Yeah. Ryan blew it. There it is.
I did blow it. Where's my buzzer?
Let us buy cool things for bonus content
Dog
and other
trainers.
episodes. Well, these are dog training buttons specifically. No dogs were harmed in the making of this episode.
yet.
Yeah.
There's
Oh.
a dog barking outside.
hear the
We
dog
have a
barking.
long episode to go.
All bets are off.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, alrighty. So we're going to go down and look at our episodes this year. Just a little
Yeah.
brief recap review. Did we love, like, hate what this
and
was?
there's we can stay as long or as little amount of time on each one.
Yeah.
If we're not feeling it.
We're just going to see what happens.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
and there's
open this
spoilers
up.
everywhere.
I was going to say we're going to open this up with a big spoiler warning.
Yeah.
This is your warning.
Yeah.
You're going to be spoiled on. If you didn't know what we reviewed and you haven't scrolled down to see, and we're like, oh, we also reviewed 90s. Oh, dang it, I didn't know that. You've been spoiled.
But the other thing is too is that this is a fantastic way to get like a general idea of what our thoughts were, and if you want to, you can go back and listen to the episode.
Yeah.
If you forgot, what it was, or you haven't
wanna hear
listened to
more.
it, you
Yeah.
want to hear more.
Or if there's just an episode that we loved making and thought was hilarious, and you hadn't listened because you were like, that just sounds like a boring topic.
Yes. And everything is available at spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
Yes,
or
it
on
is.
your favorite podcast provider, which you're probably listening to it right here.
Unless you're listening to it in Chrome, and then I don't know what to tell you.
Button's still there. You just have to
In
find
which
it.
case, just open another tab and Google spoilers intended. D-E-D.
Oh, God.
All right, let's fire it.
So let's kick this off here with little stats. We like talking numbers sometimes. So this year we have produced over 70 hours of content.
Wow. Feels like a lot more.
It does feel like a lot more.
So that is across 59 episodes, so reviews.
That's not even 3 days.
Hold on.
It's not.
13 quick reactions, 2 unscripteds, and 1 game show.
We have more unscripteds on the way.
Yeah,
But
they're-
that's
they're
really
coming.
more of a 2024 thing.
It's more of a new
Yeah.
pivot that we've gone to. Going into your It Feels Like More, we've also got 13 bonus episodes out there on that Patreon with over 14 hours of bonus content, along with 2 movie commentaries.
It's a lot. It's a lot of value for
a
your
lot of value for your
$1.
If I do say so myself, an unbiased person,
Completely unbiased.
completely unbiased.
Okay, now that we have shamelessly
Let's
shilled,
review the year.
Let's talk about the year. So we kicked off.
Are we starting chronological?
Oh, we're starting in January.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We kicked. That's the only way I'm going to organize this list. You kicked
That would be buck wild if he just like,
Can we do
all
this?
right, July 8th.
Can we do this alphabetically by month? So April.
No, January. What was our
January-
first episode this year?
January 4th, 2023, we kicked it off with a 007 doubleheader.
Mm-hmm.
George
Lazenby and Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those is a fantastic Bond actor.
And the other one was hated by
And the other one was George Lazenby. So that was towards the tail end of our Bond series. We started last year and kind of bled into this year. Those two especially, I had never seen the Lazenby Bond.
On Her Majesty's Secret
On Her
Service.
Majesty's
Really?
Secret Service. Yeah, before we
Interesting.
listen to the episode, you'll hear me say that.
I don't remember that. That's almost a year ago.
Like a year ago, yeah. And I was very disappointed.
Well, I think it has some really good like sequences in it.
It did, yeah.
But Lazenby just doesn't have like the suaveness that you're expecting out of like Sean Connery,
No,
or even
yeah.
like Roger Moore. And Roger Moore was very campy, but this one was just like it just didn't really hit
It's goofy.
all of
And
the
not in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, it felt a lot of, if I remember correctly, a lot of the goofy one-liners and stuff were like dubbed in later while he's like not facing the camera.
Yeah.
It sounds 80-yard, and you're
Well,
like,
and it's
so they
kind
just
of-
in post were like, make it goofier.
Like, he's not funny. It's like a board. Make the board speak.
Right.
Well, then you have Timothy Dalton,
Mm-hmm.
Living Daylights, which that's not my favorite Timothy Dalton film. I like License to Kill better.
It's still a good one.
It
We
is,
let
and
IMDb dictate these films.
But you really do get a good example of Timothy Dalton's Bond, and he's really the proto version of Pierce Brosnan and part of Daniel Craig's Bond that they both kind of take some inspiration from.
Yeah. He had to walk so they could run.
Yeah,
One of those things.
and do a lot of his own stunts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Indeed. Yeah, he
Great
does-
chin.
he
That
does-
cleft chin.
Yeah, he's,
Oh,
oh
man.
man,
Best chin in the business, baby.
he can cut diamonds with that.
Oh,
That chin is a diamond.
it is.
All right, so next up, we have Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
A very frustrating movie for me as someone who liked Knives Out, and because you can see the potential, and there's some good performances
There are
in
good
it.
pieces in
Yeah,
it.
there are some good bits in there, but most of it for me came down to there's like a 45-minute like
It's a flashback.
Yeah,
Just-
just
oh,
a
yeah. Just a
flashback. And it's
flashback.
just like I don't need 45 minutes of backstory.
And it lands right when the action is starting to rise.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is interesting.
Stuff's going to get real. And it's like, wait, who are these? Wait, what's going on? Why are we?
Yeah.
Where are we?
Yeah.
What is going on? Yeah.
Well, it is the difference between of like I would rewatch Knives Out. I would probably never rewatch Glass Onion.
No,
you know what I mean.
yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it's-
it. It was
and,
fine.
And
but
it is
yeah.
sad because there are some really good performances in
There
it.
are. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, moving forward
Moving forward.
into our next episode, one of our most popular, Kaleidoscope, Netflix's Kaleidoscope TV show.
And this was
Which is surprising to me.
It's very interesting to
'cause
me.
no one
this
talked
was
about it.
kind of high up there.
well, there was like a lot of articles when it first came out.
or when it was right before it was going to come out with the concept of like, oh, it's like everyone's a unique path and pattern of what you get orange and then purple and then green and blue.
Well, so for anyone listening, if you're not sure what Kaleidoscope
Yeah.
was, right? Netflix released this heist show, and the premise was that like when you watch it, it plays it for you in a random order. Like
and you could watch any episode in any order, and it
Yeah.
would make sense and be a complete story.
Yeah, and so because each episode was self-contained but told an overarching story, each person supposedly the experience was going to be unique. It turned out it wasn't fully randomized. It was more like there were like 8 different
paths.
They're like
yeah.
blocks of content, and it was
And-
like when you get A block or B block, and then from
Yeah.
that you can get C block or D block.
and it
or-
was guaranteed to be the first episode and the last episode are going to always be the same,
Right, yeah,
for
yeah.
everyone.
It starts and ends the same, everything in between.
Yeah.
so the concept was really intriguing.
It was.
The show itself actually I don't think was that bad.
yeah, Giancarlo Esposito did a really good job.
There were some-
They had some
Yeah.
good casting choices
Yeah.
here.
There were some good performances, and some of the heist aspects there were a couple episodes specifically that were kind of like smaller scale heist. I
Little
liked
small
pretty good.
vignette moments. Yeah,
But overall, it was for me. It didn't quite land.
It was mediocre.
The idea of it was like greater than the execution
Yes.
of it. Kind of type thing.
Yeah, like in concept, it sounded crazy spectacular, and then it just couldn't quite stick that promise.
yeah.
So then next up, we have a podcast favorite. Maybe not listener favorite, I don't know, but this is 1917.
Ah, yes.
Oh, good movie.
Phenomenal war movie.
You want to talk about a film that will keep you on the edge of your seat?
Yes.
It's basically the duration of the film.
Well, and it's really interesting too because like Sam Mendes as a director is kind of up and down on like the quality of his work. Sometimes it's always pretty good, but every once in a while you get ones that like Spectre that were just really bad. But then you have this, which is just almost a masterpiece of cinematography.
And I also lied. This is actually did do pretty well for the year in downloads. I take that back.
I mean,
also
1917 is pretty universal.
Favorite,
I think it has great
really good
music,
film.
like phenomenal cinematography.
The cinematography, the practical effects that they're doing, the work they have to do these big oneers.
I mean, for me too, it's the double header of like we don't get a lot of World War I movies.
Just in general,
you get so many World War II movies throughout the years, and like so that part of it is like for me kind of a blind spot in terms of like movies. You don't really feel like you've seen as much of that war, right? And then the second half of it is just from a filmmaking perspective, a lot of the techniques and the way they achieved so much of it to make it seem as if it's one shot throughout the whole way. It's just phenomenal.
Just blows you away.
I think what the average duration of an individual shot in the film is like 6 minutes.
Not the average duration. The longest duration was a 6 minute and 36 second take.
Okay.
Yeah.
The average was 2.5 minutes.
Okay, that was it.
Which is very long.
Either way, that still asks a lot of your actors to like get your marks, get your lines.
Well, because each set was made for the length of the shot, not the other way around, where they tailored the length of the shot to the set.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving forward, we love that one. So we're gonna get weird with it here. We jump into Paprika.
Oh wow! Yeah, I forgot we reviewed that one.
This film was nuts.
Good old Satoshi Kon.
Yeah, little anime film.
This was the first time you've seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Yeah, at that time.
Yeah,
I loved. I you know me. I love it when
it gets weird.
Well, get weird, get a little strange, throw me off balance.
Yeah, it's definitely a mind bend kind of film.
For sure. Yeah.
I wouldn't consider this my favorite Satoshi Kon film. That would be Perfect Blue, but I still think it's really good.
I think it taps into. Since it's like, how do I put this? It's one of his best executed films on some regards because it's like he's learned from everything up until there. Yeah. So a lot of the filmmaking techniques, the animation style, the scene transitions are like
they're like perfect
at the top of his game. But the subject matter and the overall movie itself
and the story
is not as good as some of his other stuff to me.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, that and as we discussed in the episode, at the time of its release. It kind of the concept that it was explored became very popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so if looking back at it now, you might be like, "Well, this is just kind of old hat concept."
But at the time, it was very new,
very fresh.
I remember when I first saw the trailer for it back in the day. I'm pretty sure I downloaded like a 360p,
off Real Player.
Yeah, and I remember being like, "This looks wild."
All right, so then next up we have Clue.
Oh, this was
classic.
a fun one.
Yeah.
This was my
first
your first time seeing it.
Yeah, this is a really fun movie.
I think the thing I loved about this film was the fact that you, like back in the day when it came out in theaters, you had multiple endings that were randomized for each theater. So then,
or even like each showing.
And you would go and talk to your friends. They're like, "That's not how it ended.
That's not who did it.
Yeah,
you're wrong. That's not who did
that
it."
concept.
And then on the final release, they had like all of them in the end of it.
Yeah,
and
if you watch it on DVD or streaming, it'll be
yes.
Like that's how it could have ended, but what about this? But wait, this is how it really ended.
And Tim Curry's just a tour de force.
If you have any appreciation for Tim Curry at all, watch Clue if you haven't seen it.
A must, yeah. All right, so moving forward to that, looping back to the Paprika comments, we have Inception.
Inception, one of my favorite.
We had to do a twofer
movies.
for this one.
I was going to say, now Inception was the review. Let's do some behind the scenes here. Inception was the review that refused to be recorded.
Yes,
like every time we tried to record just Inception, something would come up.
Something would come
for
up
like months.
It got rescheduled over the course of like 6 months. No lie, it was just constantly getting pushed.
I actually think I may have actually had to go back and just rewatch the film again. By the time we finally got around, I was like, I'm looking at my notes, like I don't understand why did I write that?
I produced that one, and I remember I watched the movie. I watched all the special features on my special edition Blu-ray. Right, I wrote extensive notes. Right, then we pushed it, and 6 months later, I had to go back and look at my notes and go, "Who wrote this?" I don't remember half this stuff. So I rewatched the movie and then just recapped my notes before we actually recorded. But I was like,
yeah, it's a good film. It's definitely not my favorite Nolan film by any means, but I definitely think that it's worth most of the hype.
Okay. It's definitely worth at least one watch.
I think some of the action scenes are a little kind of generic.
Oh, I don't know that hallway fight.
No, the hallway fight's fantastic.
I'm the Inception stan in this group, but
now the third act.
The third act is
has some question marks about it. Yeah, it kind of goes off the rails.
Exclamation
points.
Yeah.
Get out of here! You're just like they blew it up. I love it.
I love it.
All right, let's see who's next on the list. Oh, buddy, 007 doubleheader, Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies. The only two good ones.
Yeah,
pretty much.
For Brosnan.
Obviously, everyone loves GoldenEye. I think that's a pretty universal Bond, top 5.
GoldenEye is such a cultural touchstone for America.
It really is.
If you are like a male between the ages of 33 and 45, and GoldenEye isn't if you can't hear right now the theme music of the N64 game, I don't, you're like dead inside. The pause music, yeah.
Well, and you have Sean Bean as
006 Trevelyan.
006
Trevelyan, the bad guy.
A really good bad guy.
He's a fantastic. Because he's not relatable, but he is relatable to. Yeah, you understand.
Yeah.
Him.
Well, it's and correct me if I'm wrong. That's the first time another 00 agent had been a bad guy, right?
No,
Was it?
Because you had man. I think in one of the Roger Moores.
There was one
where
somebody was
there's a rogue. But it's
was it the
very
Golden Gun,
rare.
Man with the Golden Gun?
No, he's just an assassin.
He was just an assassin. Okay.
It's very rare that you even see another 00 on screen.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is cool. Mm-hmm. But it is a fantastic film.
There's so many memorable characters.
Well, but even talking about Tomorrow Never Dies.
Also, Tomorrow Never Dies.
I mean, honestly, you have Michelle Yeoh there at her peak of this is when she was in modern or U.S. media.
Yeah,
because she's coming off of Super Cop 3, Super Cop, Police Story 3.
Yeah,
but she's in there. They have a fantastic chase through Shanghai, which is great. And I really think that this film is incredibly underrated for what a lot of people think is not a good film, and I think it's really good.
I don't think it's a bad film. I think the
it just
failings
doesn't hit the heights as GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, especially for being Brosnan's first, is just such a high point. It's like there's almost nowhere to go. Nowhere to go.
I feel like the Tomorrow Never Dies, where it struggles the most is it doesn't capitalize on Michelle Yeoh enough.
I agree.
And it doesn't.
You get one good martial arts scene in there.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
I feel like they could have. There's a version of that movie where they lean on her character more, and they lean on just there's a couple of execution on some scenes. It's could have done this a little better.
Just a little bit better. Yeah.
It would have been.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now let's move into some disappointment.
Maybe
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania.
Mediocrity.
A mid Star Wars A New Hope remake.
Yeah. It just it didn't do it for me.
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
I don't know if A New Hope remake.
I was looking at. I don't know where he's going with that.
Then they go through the cantina. Then they have anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
It really it
I
was.
Remember I wasn't super down on it whenever it first came out, but I think after sitting on it for a couple months, I'm kind of
It's just ultimately it's just kind of a mediocre offering. From the MCU.
Mm-hmm. And that was definitely the start of this year of kind of disappointments for MCU in general.
And Disney in general, really.
Yeah. This is a bad year for Disney.
I came out of it, kind of disappointed. Yeah. I feel like there's some decent humor here and there in it, but it just overall as a package, it did not do a good job to either tell its own self-contained story that was great or set up anything else. So it just kind of who's this for?
The reliance on the volume really hurt it. It felt like it made it seem really small.
Yeah.
But
look at this guy over here.
Oh, nice snort. All right. So we're going to swing it back here.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, I thought you were going to say swing it back because I know we reviewed Creed 3, but I didn't know if they were back to back.
No, not that close. Not that close.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, classic, one of the best action adventure films of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't It's Harrison Ford at his peak.
It's the second best Indiana Jones film.
It's the second best Indiana Jones film, but I still think it is considered, like, as the whole overall package, it's one of the best.
It's a really good film.
Yeah.
It's still probably my favorite.
No, Last Crusade.
See, no, you don't get to tell me what my favorite is. That's not how that works.
But we did.
You can't tell me, no, my favorite is not
If
that.
you're listening to this and it is not Last Crusade, then you're wrong.
If it's Raiders, you're right, and you're with me.
All two of our listeners are mad. There's that portion of Temple of Doom stands. You're like,
I love Temple of Doom also.
Temple of Doom's great.
I like all of the first three Indiana Jones
Yeah.
movies for different reasons. But Raiders, I think I have the most fondness for just because I saw it probably the most as a kid. Like, I feel like I watched it a lot. And it's your introduction to Indiana Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
of
like,
course.
there's a specialness to that.
So how about next up, The Last of Us season 1 review?
Ooh, man.
Good show. I loved it.
Going into this, I literally had no idea what the story was for
Same.
Last of Us. I've never played any of the games.
Same.
I was blown away. This is probably one of the best TV shows I have ever seen.
I've played both the games multiple times before,
Well,
played it before watching the series again, just to like
So
brush up.
we rewatched the series twice now, showing like family members and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, you haven't seen Last of Us? Let's watch it. And we'll just watch the whole thing in like a weekend. And then my wife went back and played the first game, but she's not played the second one yet because I listened through osmosis and I don't want to know what happens in the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm waiting for the series.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
that's a good show.
As someone who loved the first Last of Us a lot and the second one, like the show is one of the best adaptations I've ever
It's
seen.
incredible.
Because it adds context and it adds scenes where it needs to.
Yep.
And there are a lot of points where they literally looked at the medium of television and were like, okay, this is different than a video game. So how do we adapt this to TV and make it work for TV?
Yeah.
Where this interactive segment is going to carry no weight if you just watch somebody
just do it.
solve a puzzle on screen. Like, so how do we, make it? And so for me, they can coexist. And I said this in the episode, like, it's great. If you're a fan of the game, you can also be a fan of the show, and together they both tell two parts of the same story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I can't wait to see what they do in season 2. I'm excited.
This is the beginning. This is sort of the merging of the Pedro Pascal is everywhere and everyone's daddy.
I mean, at least the he's a fantastic actor.
And he's great in that show,
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we were also doing Mandalorian season 3 quick reactions.
Yes.
Were
While this
coming
was
out
going
all
on,
around while this came out
Yeah.
as well. Because we're headed for that one, but we're not there yet. Because first, we've got to stop off with Creed 2.
Oh, Creed 2.
Creed
yeah, because
2,
We did
2
Creed 1. We did one a while back. Now, a long while back.
Yeah.
So Creed 2.
Yeah. I mean, Creed 2 is a good film.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit the same like action heights and cinematography heights as the first one.
It does not.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
But I did like the story with Drago and his son.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a good emotional core to it.
Yeah.
So
It was a mixed bag, but I didn't dislike it.
No.
I remember I liked it pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just continuing that franchise.
yeah.
Solid entry.
Yeah, definitely
right?
does a good job.
Yeah.
So then we have Creed 3.
Yes.
Right on its heels.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought Creed 3 was actually a pretty great film. Unfortunate, that Jonathan Majors is kind of a
Not a great
hole.
person.
Yeah, not a great
Not a
person.
great
Had
but-
some rough stuff in the press lately because
yeah.
yeah.
It's one of those things where you're like, how much of that character is acting?
What outside of the real world implications, just speaking about the film, right, I
film,
thought
yeah.
his performance was really good.
It was good. The
fantastic,
film
yeah.
itself was.
And Michael B. Jordan directed
quite
it,
good.
and I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah,
in
because you
Creed
got
3.
a lot of like the anime influence that he has really grown up with and stuff, which I thought was really cool.
You can really see that in a lot of the fights, especially the last one.
Yeah, because you get like the anime time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
The
works in live
us
action.
world.
Take note, Hollywood.
Just do it right, please.
But it did. I think the biggest takeaway I remember from 3 was just that Rocky's not in it, and his absence can be felt
It's
in
a
a
little bit
couple
of
of
a
scenes.
vacuum.
It hurts a little bit. Yeah, we had.
Yeah.
I think at the end of that episode, I had a suggestion on how they could have done it better.
Yeah.
And after I said it out loud, I was like, man, I shouldn't have said that out loud. This is a good film. And now I'm like, no, why is this film not that?
Now, yeah. And that's a little bit of a backseat driving.
Oh, hindsight 2020,
Yep.
yada yada. Even if I'm wearing
I
glasses,
still liked it. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So then moving forward, oh boy, we have our most popular episode of the year.
Oh,
RRR.
Of the podcast, somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it is a fantastic movie.
This is such a good film. Holy cow.
I love RRR.
the bromance that exists in this movie.
If you are
It's
a
palpable.
listener, and one, you haven't listened to this episode, but two, you haven't seen this film, you're doing yourself a disfavor.
You
This
really
is a
are.
phenomenal film.
Yeah.
Like, and it's definitely one of those where, like, yeah, you're gonna watch it in subtitles. It's gonna be in the Hindi dub version. It's not the original Telugu.
An English dub,
Oh,
but it's
don't
not.
do it.
It just doesn't.
But
Not as
it's
good as it
got
could
Ray
be.
Stevenson in there, which is fantastic. He's a
R.I.P.
great villain.
A great what?
A villain.
Pavilion.
Yeah. It's like when you take a regular villain.
I was gonna say, is that like a pavilion that turns evil?
That's you fillet them just perfectly. A villain. This was most of our first exposure to
Let's say,
Tollywood.
For the podcast,
Yeah.
this is kind of our exposure to Tollywood, but Indian cinema in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a blast.
Oh, man,
It
it
was
is
fantastic.
film.
A
Great
thrill
musical note or performances
I
in there.
won the Oscar for the musical performance,
Yep.
right? Mm-hmm. They did it live-ish at the Oscars.
Ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
It's not as good as what you got in the film, let me tell you.
No.
But it's a long movie, and there is unfortunately no way in the United States to
get
see
the original language.
The original language,
Telugu, yeah.
Telugu. You have to, like, Hindi, I'd say, is probably the closest you can get on Netflix.
It's as good as, the advantage with the Hindi is that the principal actors dub themselves.
a lot of them, yeah.
So
So you still get a lot you performances.
yeah,
and
you're still going to get a
everything,
really
which is
good
big,
performance out of it, which is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just fantastic film. If you haven't somehow seen this, you should. This
It
is
was a fun episode. Just listening to the three of us
the
all
episode
realize that
was
we
great.
secretly love it because we were kind of cagey at the front of like, I liked it. What'd you think? I loved it. I think.
like our chats leading up to it, because we were all just like, I think at home, just like, awesome. We were
Yeah.
like, so we're gonna record this week, right? Yeah, it'll be good. Oh, okay. So then next up, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We had a lot of content here in a row.
Yeah, we really did. There was a lot of bangers.
Yeah.
And this is, no slouch, honestly. Like, this
No,
is a phenomenal
I really
season
liked
one.
Witch from Mercury.
Yeah.
I do feel like it could have ended better. That was the biggest
Yeah,
takeaway.
absolutely. I mean, the ending's a little weak. However, everything up until that point is honestly really, really good. And even if you're not like into like Gundam and mecha and that kind of stuff, this is a very accessible anime that you can watch. It's only 25 episodes long.
Yeah.
And
self-contained.
self-contained, and
This
it's
is season
really
one just specifically for this. Yeah,
Yeah,
Just lay that out there. I was like, wait, hold on, double checking
Well,
myself.
and you don't have to have really a whole lot of prior Gundam knowledge going into this.
No, you don't have to really have any.
Yeah,
They
so
do
like-
a decent job at explaining stuff, and it's just a good show.
Yeah.
Great music too.
Quite good. So next up, we have John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
John Wick is a superhero.
Oh my
He
gosh,
is.
this film was so long.
He goes through it in this one.
Dragged
Well,
on.
it's honestly like it was fine up until he was like in the around the Arc de Triomphe and just like taking cars and just.
The steps. Watching him go up those steps.
No, that
like,
was at the end.
I don't care. I was already so done. And when I saw the stairs, and I was like, he's going to roll down all these stairs and to walk back. Oh my gosh, there he goes.
See, I enjoyed it because I knew
So
what I was
mad.
in for.
So mad.
I signed up for it when I bought the ticket. But like, I think 4 is probably my favorite since 1.
I definitely think that it was not as good as 1, obviously.
Right,
but it definitely hits close to the same heights as some of the action scenes from 1.
But now 4 did have the top-down sequence with the dragon's breath.
Yes,
It did,
That was
and it had Donnie Yen in it.
sweet.
There-
Also sweet.
yeah,
yes.
There were a lot of things in 4 that were great. Whereas in like, I think 2, there's like some really stylistic scenes, like the club and like things like that that are cool.
And then 3, I didn't care for.
3, I liked all
Dogs. Wasn't
right.
3 dogs?
3
3
with
was
dogs
dogs,
with
yeah.
Halle Berry.
Forever
Yeah.
dogs.
It was fine. 4 though, I think brought it back.
Yeah.
closer to what it
was
should have
just
been.
kind of he's like so far into his own ethos at this
Yeah.
point that it's just kind of ridiculous.
Well, it's
like
the
Fast and
unfortunate
Furious.
nature of like I wish 4 could have happened as the second movie, but the problem is the second and third movie built out so much of the lore
Yeah.
to
Get you to 4.
to get you to 4 that
Yeah.
like, but by then the stunts had to be, it's the war of escalation that like by the time you get to the 4th one, it's like we've got to go even
Yeah.
bigger, and
Well,
it's like
and I think my complaint there isn't that the stunts had to get bigger. It's that they did a stunt. They're like, okay, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it another time.
So we can see you do it 4 times.
Yeah, and it's like,
yeah.
well, this isn't different camera angles of the same stunt. Like
It's
Jackie
just the same
Chan.
thing over and
It's just
over
the same
and
thing
over.
over and
Yeah.
over. And we added 15, 20, 30 minutes to this film that we just didn't need.
Yep.
So next up, a personal favorite, also a podcast favorite, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
This movie surprised the heck out of me.
I love this movie.
I thought it was going to be pretty good. I loved this movie. I thought it was great.
It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And especially not being like a big like Sword and Board fan, like I thought this was great.
I'm still so sad that it didn't do as well as it could have in the box office.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't considered a major success, unfortunately.
And
Yeah.
now I know, wow, I just pulled a blank. What is his name?
Chris Pine?
Yes. So Chris Pine has said in interviews that, the potential for a sequel is on the table.
Yeah.
They're on board. It's just a question of does it happen?
Well, see, the
So
real
it's out there.
The real call though is that they just have a whole new cast for the second film.
It's just a new party.
yeah, just a new party.
Or
Yeah, you
maybe
could do
like,
that.
Or
maybe
you
like
have
as they go
someone-
through the town, like Chris Pine just like walks by in the background with 2 other people and they're talking about something.
Oh, yeah. There's
They're
like one scene
they're
where they
they're
all
going
meet
to-
up. And
going
then,
to the tavern or not the tavern, the equipment place to buy some swords
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the other thing I
gear.
think that movie had, the struggle was it was done right before the pandemic.
And then they just had to keep pushing it back.
They
and
delayed
pushing
it so
back,
long
yeah.
that like now to do a sequel, if you were going to bring the same characters back, it's like it's been 7 years since we probably started principal filming
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
Like
it's been
it's a
forever.
weird like
85 years.
right.
But yeah, no, I thought it was a great film.
Also-
I think I said it during the review too. It had the same energy as like when you watch the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Of like you don't know what to experience. You're expecting going in, and then the chemistry between the characters was there.
And
the
like
jokes were funny.
The humor's good, but like
Yeah.
the emotion is there too.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, like at the end of it, you're like, why am I feeling things?
right? Yeah.
Am I going to cry in Dungeons
Am
and
I about
Dragons?
to cry in a D&D movie? And then you do.
Yeah.
But,
Plus
I
2
mean,
to cry.
I mean, Michelle Rodriguez was great.
Plus
in it,
2 to sorrow.
Yeah. I thought everybody in it did a really
everyone.
good job.
Jonathan.
Jonathan, no.
Oh, so then next up we have something that did do very well at the box office.
That we probably all didn't like.
The Super Mario Brothers movie.
Ugh.
It was fine.
It was not
was fine.
good.
I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you got to appeal to the kids.
I mean, and it made
was-
$1 billion.
This was the first.
It did.
You
This
know,
is
what
the
do
first
I know?
$1 billion blockbuster of the year.
Yep.
Everyone was like, "Hey, is the theater dead?" And
No.
in the year prior,
Just make a good kids
Tom
film.
Cruise
Yeah.
said it's not dead, and then Illumination came along and was like, "It sure isn't."
I mean, we had Avatar: Way of the Water. It made $1 billion.
You mean Avatar 2, Water
Electric-
Boogaloo.
yeah.
Water Boogaloo. It made more than
Electric
$1 billion.
Water Boogaloo. That's not right.
That's not healthy.
That's
at all.
not it.
But I mean, like
Underwater
it didn't
Boogaloo.
come out in 2023.
Yeah.
No, it came out
Yeah,
right before.
Right before, but like it made the money.
It did, but like everyone expected. Like if Avatar didn't make the money,
Then
there's big problems.
There's a
everywhere,
lot of
right?
big
Everyone
problems.
Their
expected
studio
it.
execs, wrap it up. They're just like unplugging stuff, pulling up the cord. We're done.
Desks
No.
going out the window.
The problem with the Mario movie is like everything's great and no one's happy, right? Like if I was a kid and you showed me that they were going to make an animated Mario movie, it looks this good,
Yeah.
and I would
It
have
looks very good.
lost my mind. Now I'm like, you did it wrong.
Chris Pratt
Grouchy old
shouldn't have
man.
been Mario.
No, he felt
Yeah.
weird,
It was
weird as
fun.
Mario. They separated the brothers throughout the whole movie,
whole
and
time.
them together was the best part
Yeah,
of the
it
movie.
Yeah, which
Like,
is funny because I didn't really, when he was introduced, I was like, man, I can't get over this. And like when the movie's going, I was like, I didn't really notice it.
you don't, yeah.
And then like, but man, if they could have
But when- yeah,
had the
in
brothers
retro-
together,
Yeah.
the chemistry is so good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So wasted.
Yeah.
So next up, throughout we have been doing quick reactions to the Mandalorian season 3s, and this is our season recap review.
Yeah, so we did each week with the
Yeah.
episodes came out, we did like a quick 15-minute recap episode. And then we did the final review at the end. And season 3 Mandalorian was a mixed bag.
It was something. It sure was
It
something.
was pretty mid. I'm not. It was
had-
pretty mid.
it had
makes
some
you
high
sound
points,
so old when
and
you
it had
say
some so first of all, don't ever use that term again.
Secondly, it's the way you say it. You go mid. You pronounce every letter, and it's very bad.
It's like as you're saying that, I can see your hair graying.
Yeah,
Like,
somewhere
I got a bald spot right up here.
it's
Like,
getting bigger.
there's some teen vaping on a skateboard out there just fell off. Got chills.
See,
when
but see,
you
the thing
said
is, here's the thing. You're so old that the vaping and the skateboard, that person's in their 40s.
that. Oh no!
but yeah, this season was not that great.
It was
fine.
It had some
It was
moments.
the book of Cara Thrace.
Bo-Katan.
I know her name from Battlestar Galactica. Is Katie Sackhoff Cara Thrace? No, it's Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan.
It was the Book of Bo-Katan, and that's fine. But like, call the show that, and then I won't be disappointed. I'm not getting more Mando.
He doesn't have to particularly be the Mando.
No,
his story,
true.
like Filoni's come out and said that it's not only about him.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But
there were some episodes in that season that were good and some that were bad. It was it was too inconsistent.
I forgot Mecha Grogu. No. Yes.
That's pretty funny.
That was good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to forget that anytime soon.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What else is in the list? What do we have after that? The list keeps trying to move on me. I don't appreciate that.
That's not how lists
it's probably
work.
Temple of Doom.
It is not. Andrew's wrong. Way to go, Andrew. You fool. You fell for one of the classic blunders. Next up is Suzume.
Oh.
You couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
Truth. Now I'm not going to lie, this is probably one of the most accessible and best anime films that you can possibly watch.
A
I go with that.
spectacular film.
I have watched this movie probably 7 times over this past year.
Oh wow.
Oh boy. Okay, I haven't gone.
I need to rewatch it. I've seen it the one time in theater.
Oh god,
I want to sit down.
We watched it twice in theaters.
Right.
I want to sit down and just Makoto Shinkai, just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since it's been actually quite a while since I've seen Your Name.
Well, and Suzume is nominated for Best Animated Picture.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
right.
but I mean, honestly,
phenomenal. The music's so good.
The music's phenomenal. The animation's great. The
story's great.
Yeah.
Do you want me to pull it up? Is
I
that
was
when you nod at me? Is that what that means?
I thought when you were doing it, I was like, oh, he's over there typing.
The track is just called Suzume.
Yeah.
So,
It should be
but seriously,
dead
like
simple
this
to
is
find.
if you are unfamiliar with like anime in general. I showed my mom this movie. She has never seen an anime before, and she loved it.
Wow.
Like this is definitely one of those where it's totally just
It's just there. Yeah.
worth watching.
I feel like Ryan looks like he's ready, but he's not.
What's the name of the song?
Suzume.
It's not popping up.
I guarantee you it is.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on. Let me
Can't take Ryan anywhere.
Suzume. Searching. Here we go.
I promise you it's there. There it is.
There it is.
Stop.
I like that you said that in rhythm with the song.
That was on purpose.
Stop. But yes, I mean,
Door.
I basically don't have anything bad to say about this film.
No.
Like, it's just such a good, like, full package for an anime
Yeah,
film.
this is again RRR is like, hey, you want to watch some Indian cinema? Mm-hmm. That's a real easy end. This is a really easy end to anime.
Now, I'll definitely say this too. Like, this movie hits emotionally very, very
This will
hard.
go after you.
If you, like, it's going to hit you at least twice in the film. Pretty tough.
And it does reference stuff very specific to Japan.
Yes.
So like big cultural touchstones for them.
Like disasters. And
Yeah,
stuff
disasters. That, like
yeah.
if you look it up or whatnot, or we talk about it in the review, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, 007 doubleheader. Daniel Craig.
Skyfall and
Casino Royale.
Casino Royale. Yeah, I don't like Casino Royale.
Casino Royale. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I think
I like Casino Royale.
I do, and so does the internet.
No, that's fine. You guys can like it. You can both be wrong.
You're so hipster when it comes to your Bond.
Casino's the one that opens with the black and white.
Ugh.
It's just
God,
like why do we
But
do
it's
this?
not. It's not actually black and white. It's just it's desaturated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a choice.
It is a choice, and it's not a great one. That opening there. But I like a lot of the action. I love Vesper as a character. I love Daniel Craig.
And Daniel Craig as Bond is a great.
Yeah.
It was a controversial casting at the time.
It was
a
because
good choice.
James Bond isn't blonde.
He's blonde, Ooh.
which is like
It's such a weird thing to get mad about.
That's what you're mad about.
and then it's like, oh, he's going to be rough and tumble and not suave.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the full package with Skyfall.
There's a little bit of Jason Bourne in there. That's
I mean, you see the full package when he comes out of the water in Casino Royale. Though.
sandbar.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Sorry. What were you talking about?
I mean, he does have little shorts.
He does. My wife reminds me every time we watch that movie.
She does.
Pause it. Rewind it. Like, leave me alone, pervert.
Mine does too. It's fine.
Yeah, it's great. Both those were really good Daniel Craig movies, though.
I think Skyfall has a really fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah,
that's
really
definitely what. That one isn't done by Hans Zimmer. That's Tom Newell, I think.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Todd Newell.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
Somebody. So then we jump right into a big emotional hit here. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Man, I really wanted to like this movie more than I did, but I think it's really because of there's a lot of animal cruelty in it.
The subject matter.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough for me to really get behind.
This is unlike the first Guardians, which is really easy to just toss on and play in the background. This is not that kind of film. This film goes after you.
Well, so I remember walking out of it, and
Thomas Newman was who did the music.
Yeah.
Old Tom.
But yeah, when I was walking out of it, I remember saying in one of my group chats, I was like, this movie is as good as, the final phase of like Endgame and Infinity War and stuff like that.
This is up there. This is a really good film.
But I don't think I liked it.
So
that's a pretty fair take, yeah.
I liked it, but I agree with you that it's one of those things where you have the trouble of the subject matter was required to make you feel the emotion that the story wanted. It's just tough to watch.
It's very
really tough. Oh gosh, there's some heart tuggers in this one.
But again, you can't get that kind of emotion without a tough story.
Yeah, I get it. I understand that that's what the story was.
Right, yeah.
And they did such a good job with it that it really hit. I was in the theater very upset.
Yeah.
And I think you should be. Animal cruelty is awful.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the 3 Guardians movies and knowing that it's James Gunn's last movie, I think you do see an arc. Even though, they've appeared in the different end games and stuff in between there. When you watch Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Guardians 3, you see you
see the course, the projection.
Yeah. And you can see James Gunn, to his credit, you can see his fingerprint, for better or for worse, on all of it.
I mean, again, for the MCU too, this is a pretty big high point.
So to me, I think this might be the only win that the MCU or Disney had this year, really.
And
right?
I think that's just because of its Guardians.
Well, box office and critically wise,
critically,
a lot of stuff that Disney put out this year didn't do well on either front. And this is one of the few things they had that both was financially and review wise really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it hits.
Yeah.
All right, moving forward. Speaking of something else that hits, Heat.
I love Heat.
Man, this is early 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, just get one of the coolest shootouts in downtown LA.
Shootout LA.
The real audio from them shooting their blanks in the streets.
It is visceral and I love it. And just Pacino and De Niro, Val Kilmer's great in this movie.
Everyone's good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Heat fan. I've owned it on every version they put out just about. Heat DVD, VHS, Blu-ray, 4K. Give it to
Heat 2 is coming up, isn't it, too?
Yeah, so the book came out.
2, and then there's a new Michael Mann film, Ferrari, that's coming out soon.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. But yeah, Heat's a classic.
It's a little long for my taste.
It's a little long.
It is.
It's a slower paced film for most of it. But boy, when it's turn the action on, it just opens the spigot.
Well, you can literally, in that shootout, see most of the inspiration for Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, yeah.
Just in that shootout, you're I see so much DNA from this in so many different properties and things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
I think this is underrated for what people give it credit for.
Yeah.
There's some fantastic sequences in it, particularly on the bridge at the end.
I love the, the minecart.
Minecart's fun.
The minecart's great.
If you had asked me to rate the Indiana Jones films before the more modern ones, before I'd seen the more modern ones, I'd be like, Temple of Doom is just kind of mid-tier. It's mediocre. Now I'm like, man, this is a fantastic cinema.
It is very good.
Well, I think Temple of Doom is the fun kids movie version of a lot of it. And as a kid, when I saw it, it was my favorite for a while because it was
you have Short Round in there. You have your kid stand-in for any kid watching. It's I could be Short Round.
Right, yeah. And there's so many.
Be my surrogate father.
It's just constantly out of the frying pan into. If only I look at my dad pitiful.
Pathetic.
He's not Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Where's your stubble? But yeah, it definitely, if you look at it objectively as a film, I would never be this is the best Indiana Jones movie. Yeah. But it's a lot of fun. And I think, again, in hindsight, now that we've got some more modern ones, it's a really good movie.
Well, and I think, too, this is kind of
at least 2 other films.
This runs into the problem of the 80s, excess of action.
Yeah.
Where they're Raiders of the Lost Ark was, really good, but we need to amp it up.
Yeah.
And they amped it up. And then they were well, that was a little culturally insensitive. Let's pull it back a little bit.
That might might also be the biggest concern about this. Is
It definitely does have
of the
some.
3 original films. This is the one where everyone kind of goes, "Ooh,
It aged
because
up, of course.
Because it's totally fine to beat up on Nazis.
Yeah, always.
yeah,
And then
who
this
cares?
came out. They're like, so this is just different tribes in India. I was like, well, I don't know
know
sure
about
how I
this,
feel
yeah.
about. You're like, they're sort of devil worshippers, but not devil worshippers.
Yeah.
So,
a different kind of
different-
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The 80s were wild, man.
Well, and what's the main female character's name? Millie or no? I can't think.
Oh my gosh.
But she screams a lot.
Willie.
Willie. I was
Yeah.
like, Millie? That's not it.
It's
Willie.
better. It's
Yeah.
better than Rage of the Lost Ark, where it's just Marion saying, "Indy."
She does say that a lot.
I don't know. This one.
She was a cooler character, though.
Yeah.
She
Anyway.
was a more interesting character.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So jumping forward, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, we did
Very
these
good
back to
movie.
back.
We did these back to back. Yeah. We had
my
a
favorite.
deadline.
Sean Connery did a
yeah.
fantastic job.
And I love my
Always.
favorite scene is on the airship when he knocks that Nazi out of the window and goes, no ticket.
ticket.
Everyone starts pulling out their tickets.
There's so many good like setup and payoff comedic bits in
Yes.
this movie.
I'm sorry, son. They got us.
Well, I love whenever the tank goes over the cliff and
yeah.
everyone like is
He's
looking
looking
over
over,
it. Then
yeah.
Indy just walks up and sees what they're looking
What are we
at.
staring at?
What are y'all looking at? Yeah.
There are some great sequences.
Yeah,
in that
there
film,
really are.
man. The best indie.
Yeah.
Then, oh boy, what some whiplash here. Fast X.
I actually think this movie was one of the better ones out of like the more recent ones.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're never going to top number 7 or number 1
No.
because number 1's just Point Break, but with cars.
5 was really good too.
Five,
Five's
Fast
good.
5 was really good. 7, I think, is the pinnacle, just because you have the
Five
emotional.
Is the one that 10 references, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Brazil.
Yes,
that's
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the safe heist or whatever.
But Jason Momoa did a fantastic job.
good.
in
He's a good
this.
villain. John Cena, great.
Yes.
John
I
Cena
think-
was great, but his character again did that thing where like between 9 and 10 they just 180. Just
Oh,
not
yeah,
you're
yeah.
a good
No
guy.
question, don't
Everyone's
worry
He
about
murdered people, and he was just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. You're good.
Family.
You know how you acted all serious in the last one? Just be a cool uncle this time.
Yeah.
Got it.
But
Yeah.
he was such a good, cool uncle.
He was. Yeah. I really think Jason Momoa steals the show though.
He
'cause
does.
Everything else is like they're bending over too hard to like make the broken continuity of this series make any sense.
Any sense. And then like,
It's like-
Vin Diesel?
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot,
yeah.
Her character's back now.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just
it's
all these
just-
people are
it's
just
all over the
popping up
place.
and you're like, but why?
Yeah. All right. And then we jump into Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
This is
Oh, wow.
still better than Dial of Destiny.
It's at least
It is.
This is the way
It
I've
pains
described
me
it
to
to
say
people.
but it
that
is.
I think Crystal Skull has lower lows, but it also has higher highs.
Yeah.
And you can make
And Dial
fun
of
of
Destiny
it.
is just boring.
It is. It's just like 5 out of
line.
10 the whole way through.
Yeah.
Whereas Crystal Skull is like, hey, that action sequence is like a 9 out of 10. Okay, the monkeys is like a 2 out of 10. You know, and like it goes.
You're just up and
Negative
down
two.
the whole time.
Yeah, but you can always at least make fun of it when
Yeah.
it's bad, as to
riff
where
on it.
Dial of
like
Destiny, you really can't.
you're just like it's just flatline, just
Yeah.
the whole way
The whole
through.
movie's just okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually have a commentary that you can go listen to because it was Steven's first time watching it.
Yeah, for
Oh,
Crystal
time-
Skull.
yeah,
on
Crystal
the
Skull.
Patreon. That is
Yeah,
one
on
of the
Patreon.
bonus.
Yep.
Yes.
For just $1.
$1.
Shill. So the next up, we finished out our 007 double headers.
Yep.
So we were like, we need something else to latch onto, another series we can talk about.
What can fill the void in our
What could
hearts?
fill the void? Tom Cruise.
Mission Impossible, baby.
Shining Knight on the Hills.
dun,
there for us.
dun, dun,
Mission
dun.
Impossible, 1996.
This is definitely one of my least favorite ones out of the whole franchise.
See, this is
wrong.
It's the same problem that I have with other things, where it's like it's still one of my favorites because I have such fond memories of when I
It's
saw
just
it.
not indicative of what the franchise is now.
It's definitely not.
No,
but like,
no.
there's some awesome lighting in it. Like, it's just like.
It's a really good.
It's like they have like this like
thriller film.
kind of like weird lens on the whole film.
Yeah,
Everything's kind of glowy.
It has a stylistic choice of like, it's such a '90s movie in terms of its production.
It really is.
That it like
yeah.
it really appeals to me on that level of like it is a perfect time capsule.
Yeah.
Of like this is what a lot of movies look like in 19.
And you still
yeah.
do have the pure iconic scene of him in the vault room or the
Oh,
computer room, which is still
drop scene.
fantastic.
I don't know that they've had another sequence like the vault since that has been that tense and that
tense,
like
yeah.
well
Yeah.
executed.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
I like it. Yeah.
But I think we do, as we go through these, we did get into the idea that the first two, if you missed them and you picked up at 3, you'd be fine.
You'd be fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Next up, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
I love this movie.
You know,
Very
for
good.
as much, and again, this goes back to Disney, where I think of the year 2023 film-wise, it's kind of a disappointing year. There are some really good films in this year.
Yes.
They're just not Disney.
This is also a nominee for best
Animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
It'll
this is
probably
good.
win.
And I wouldn't be mad if it did.
No,
just
I wouldn't
because
either,
it's
yeah.
very well done. I thought the emotion in this movie was great.
They
The
pushed
soundtrack's
the art
great.
style really hard.
Oscar
Yeah.
Isaac as Spider-Man 2099 is
Yeah.
great.
The comedy is great. Like when the
Yes.
dad is like psyching himself up to jump across that gap, and then it just cuts to him going down the stairs instead.
The situational comedy that they get with the Spot is
Oh yeah,
spot on.
Jason Schwartzman with Spot
Yeah.
and like all that. Yeah, there's a lot to like in this movie.
There is.
Terrible.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're going off of the last one, which is was such a high point, where it's like, how are they going to top this? I'm worried they're going to mess
how do
it
you come
up.
back to it? Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh, go ahead.
when you've made perfection,
Yeah.
and then you're like, we want to make a sequel. It's like, whoa, calm down, boys.
Yeah, it felt weird of like, where are you
Yeah.
going to go? And then they went places that I was surprised by, and I thought they did a really good job.
And I know it's cliche, but the Japanese dub for this is very, very good.
Oh man, this is such.
Is that cliche? I think that's just weird.
Stereotypical Andrew. It's
I think that's
stereotypical
just a
Andrew.
strange thing to say.
Andrew's like, it's not a film if I'm not reading the bottom third of it.
Got him.
See, the best part is I can just turn on closed captions all the time, and then it's a real film.
Getting seasick.
I remember
over
I
here.
borrowed like your HBO subscription, and it started playing. I don't remember what I had to watch. It started playing. I was like, why are they closed captions? I was like, it's an old man. I'm older than you. What the heck? So next up, Mission Impossible 2.
Budget doves,
Budget dove. So
aka pigeons.
movie aside, I think this is one of the best episodes we've ever recorded.
I think this might be my favorite episode of the year that we've recorded.
It's
easily
spectacular.
It is unhinged. I don't care if you've seen Mission Impossible 2. I don't care if you hate Mission Impossible 2. If you haven't listened to our Mission Impossible 2 episode, please listen to it. It is a delight.
Yeah, you're doing yourself a disservice
Yeah.
by not listening to
Spoiler
this.
alert: the movie itself is not that great.
It's-
However,
it's
the episode is very
infinite-
fun.
It's still pretty
Infinitely-
good, though. It's still a lot of fun in its own way.
Infinitely riffable. This is one of those movies where it's like, it's not
Yeah.
very good, but there is a lot to make fun of.
Yes.
There's so many parts in Mission Impossible 2 that are like so uniquely bonkers that it makes it easy to riff on, but also like for me, just enjoyable. So like when I'm doing a Mission Impossible rewatch, I never skip it because I'm like, this is unhinged. This movie is great. They're doing like handstands on motorcycles and kicking sand and
With
guns are flying up.
Uzis.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
just-
like
oh my gosh.
Tom Cruise is so fast that he can beat someone that already has a gun drawn
Yeah.
on him,
Yeah.
kick a gun out of the sand, turn around and shoot him before he gets shot.
It's so dramatic
It's
too, like that
amazing.
Oh,
Zen
it's so
soundtrack.
over the top.
And then Sandy Newton's looking off like in slow motion with like the color grading, and it's just like, yeah, Belliferon, and she's like injecting herself with the thing. Anyways,
Oh man,
listen to our episode if you haven't already. It's a hoot. I had a lot of fun.
that
with
was that was an incredible episode. Next up, The Neverending Story.
Oh boy!
I did not like this.
Now this was one of our Patreon picks
Yeah, so
polls.
RRR was the first one.
yes. So
and then this one's the next.
for people who don't know what we do on our Patreon, every now and then we'll put up a poll and it'll be like, "Hey, here's 4 movies," and we try
four
to
roughly themed together
Yeah.
films.
vote on it, and then that becomes an actual episode. And so this was we had like 80s movies that scarred children, and people picked Neverending Story.
I'm not a fan of this one. It's kind of boring.
I again,
This requires a lot of nostalgia
It
to love
does.
this film.
Yeah.
the nostalgia I have for this movie carried me through it, but I fully recognize that if it's 2023 and you've never seen it and this is your first time, I mean, I'm sorry. It's like the 80s were a wild time to be alive.
Boy, were they ever.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 3, next in the list.
This is the first one what I would consider in the real franchise that what
Yes.
Mission Impossible is now.
This
and
is a
I like
really
it.
good film.
Phil Seymour Hoffman is definitely the highlight of the film.
Spectacular villain.
Oh man, when they're like trying to like
Interrogate him in the plane.
I was gonna say not interrogate, intimidate him.
Intimidate
Yeah.
him, yeah.
And they're like hanging him out of the plane, and he's just like unflinching,
Yeah.
doesn't care. What's your name? You know, like you're gonna like he's so scary
Is
as
there
a
somebody
villain.
you love,
Yeah.
care for? 'Cause
But-
I'm going to find them, and I'm going to hurt them.
My biggest drawbacks to this movie, the third one, is
Color
that like
grading.
well that especially. But if you look at the first 3, right, the first movie was so much like a
An actual spy
War
thriller.
spy
Well, no,
drama.
it was an earmark of what 1990s filmmaking looked like.
Yep.
The second one is an earmark of what early 2000s.
Exactly what
And this
2000.
is
And this is 2006. Like everything's green and orange. Like like the way it's
Super
cut,
high contrast.
shaky camera.
Yeah.
So it's like another perfect distillation of like this is that decade's.
Yep.
For better or for worse, filmmaking techniques in a movie.
Yeah.
Looking at this list here, I'm glad we tackled the Mission Impossible series when we did, because we go straight from Mission Impossible 3 into The Flash.
The Flash.
The Flash had some moments.
Not
It
a
did.
terrible film.
It just could have been so much better.
It's one of those. It's the same problem that a lot of the DC movies honestly have had. Is it like
they
this?
haven't all had this problem.
No.
Ezra Miller's a unique problem.
He is, but like the problem of like, man, so that's the choice you went with. That happens to me all the
All the
time when
time.
I'm watching these DC movies. Like, so this one, they bring back Michael Keaton as his 1989 Batman.
Yeah.
and they just don't do much with it.
They just don't do anything.
Like
now.
they could have done so many things with his character, and they just kind of here he is. Remember? Okay,
Because that's the thing. It's just nostalgia mining. There's
is.
no
Yeah.
thought process in it until the after the fact. They're like, oh yeah, we could have done that, and it's like, yeah, you could have.
yeah, you should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
One, I think it's probably the best in the franchise.
It's one of, if
This
not
is
the
this
best.
is the Burj Khalifa. This
Yeah.
spiked my wife's stress meter on her smartwatch. Off the charts.
Yeah, it's just a great film.
Yeah.
If you're like, you could honestly just start at this one, and you're pretty much good to
No,
go.
you have to start with 3.
Well, yeah, his wife's in there.
Like,
You gotta get the wife.
And up until now, you have gotten some decent Tom Cruise running, right? 1,
This
2,
is-
and
thi-
3.
oh, man,
this
this
is like
this is
Tom
his
Cruise
ultimate
is running flat out
Yeah.
in a real sandstorm. Mm-hmm. It's a good movie.
it's phenomenal. Yeah.
I like the plot of this one. I think the biggest problem this one has is kind of like when you come off such a good villain as Philip Seymour Hoffman. in
Nothing
3,
else can kind of compare.
It's tough. Like
Yeah,
if you
it-
could have
it
had
is
Philip
very
Seymour
tough.
Hoffman in this one as the bad guy, this would be one of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
Academy Award for life. Here you go.
No.
What
Indiana
happened?
Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Nothing else to say
already- yeah,
about
we've
it.
already
It was
talked
5
about
out
it.
of 10.
It's boring.
Look, I think our tagline for this is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Disappointment.
Yes.
Yes.
And boy, Disney just threw a whole lot of money into the ground for no reason.
It's another one of those that like the action doesn't feel as tactile as it should. Some of the story choices are kind of like, okay. Harrison Ford just feels like I'm just here for the paycheck.
You got
Harrison
Antonio
Ford feels
Banderas
like an
in
every
there, and that's
movie.
about it. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't do it for me.
No, it didn't do it for me.
Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is next up.
Pretty good.
Rogue Nation's
Solid.
the one that I always
forget that it
I
exists.
forgot.
Yeah.
And like after rewatching it, it's not that bad.
No, it's not a bad film, but they definitely ran into a lot of production issues.
Yeah, for sure. On that one.
And it really shows.
It's a little
Yeah.
scattered
Yeah.
in terms of just the actual story.
But there's still some good stuff in there.
good
There's
stuff.
some good
There are,
action
yeah.
scenes. Yeah.
Then we have another Patreon Picks poll, The Mask of Zorro.
I love this movie.
Oh yeah,
This
classic.
is such
One
a
of my
good
favorites.
film.
Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins are just and Catherine
Don't
Zeta
you
Jones.
dare leave
Jones.
Catherine Zeta-Jones out of
How
that.
could you possibly forget her?
Yeah, I mean they're all fantastic in this. It is just a great action swashbuckling
Man,
film.
it's such a this
It
this
is.
movie defines
and,
the term.
I mean, we got James
swashbuckling.
Horner doing the music. Like, come on,
Great music.
Yeah.
Really good comedy. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a good, solid
such a
mid '90s
good film.
action.
It's just a
movie.
fantastic blockbuster.
It really made me miss like the mid '90s style of filmmaking because like nowadays when
It's
we
so simple.
it is it's like it doesn't
Well,
take
they had like real sets.
yeah
like-
it's great
Yeah.
They blew up the whole place.
No.
yeah they did.
Then we have Mission Impossible Fallout.
Arguably the other best one.
I really like this movie.
It's
a
great.
very
Henry
good film.
Cavill gets to reload his arms.
I love that. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
so good.
Yeah, it's just a great film.
Yeah, and I like the so you know the villain of Lane in Rogue Nation is like fine.
But he's so much better in
He's
this
so
one.
much better in this one. And
Yeah.
then Henry Cavill is such a good bad guy. And then I don't know the dynamic with the team is good, and
Is
you
really
get kind
good,
of like the back and forth with
Well,
like,
because you got Rebecca Ferguson
Ferguson,
in here,
yeah.
who's kind of like the other, because she was in Rogue Nation, but this one she's actually part of the team this time,
Right.
And like you really get a good dynamic with them because you have kind of the will they won't they. It's just a great movie.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good.
So then we complete the Mission Impossible tour with Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah.
I think this one's pretty good. I thought it doesn't hit the heights as Ghost Protocol or Fallout, but it's still pretty good.
There's still a lot to like in this, and I saw a lot of people complaining about it, and I came out of it pretty high. I definitely wouldn't put it as high as like Ghost Protocol or like.
Well, I mean,
Fallout.
Haley Atwell is amazing.
Haley Atwell kills it. Vanessa Kirby kills it in this one because she comes back. She was in that, and that was our rewatch of it is when I figured out she was the daughter of the lady from the first one.
Yeah, Job.
No, he's Job. She's we did this last time.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it's another.
It's gonna kill me. I'll look it up. Yeah, but like I thought, like a lot of the chase scenes were good. The action scenes were good. It did not have the heights that Fallout did or the of Ghost Protocol, but like I still enjoyed it immensely.
Well,
I want to rewatch it.
This one's still really good. Like he jumps off a cliff and with a motorcycle and parachute. Like it's pretty good.
Solid.
Yeah.
All right, we're in the midpoint of the year here.
I know it's coming.
Time for Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
This was a combo episode that we did because we had to stay with the meme.
Got to keep with what happened in real life.
Max was her name in Mission Impossible.
There it is.
I thought it was something biblical.
Oppenheimer, I think, is just a.
Woo!
It's an amazing film. Yeah,
that is a film.
The music's incredible. Just. The cinematography is great. Christopher Nolan, I think, knocked it out of the park. Cillian Murphy is amazing.
Oh, great
Cillian Murphy.
I always get that wrong.
We went into this in the episode.
It's a common mistake.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought Oppenheimer, it was just fantastic. I mean, it was the practical effects they did, the music, the score, the acting, everything was great.
It's a slower paced film with a lot of black and white. I actually saw an article not that long ago of Nolan joking when he's like, the box office is dead. Like, what are you talking about? I released a 3-hour documentary film that half of it filmed in black and white and made $1 billion.
Now, hold on. There's obviously a lot of caveats here because honestly, the real reason why Oppenheimer did so well was because Barbie and the Barbenheimer meme is what really pushed it up above.
That is something that I don't think we'll ever see again happen organically.
You're going to see stuff to be trying to manufacture, but it's never going to happen again.
As someone who works in marketing, right? Like you have two different sides of this. You have Sony trying to re-release Morbius after the Morbing Time meme happened, and no one saw it still the second time because that's not how memes work, Sony. And then you have the Barbenheimer thing where like these two diametrically opposed movies were like connected in a box office weekend, and everyone's like, this is going to be a nightmare for Oppenheimer. And they turned it organically. No one did it on purpose. Yeah. It just the internet got together and was like, Barbenheimer. And it became such a cultural thing. People were going to double screenings.
They're getting dressed up for these films.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the Minions film where people like showed up in suits, and it got so bad that the theaters were like banning youths in suits.
Which I don't understand. Like, what's wrong with kids looking sharp dressed?
Well, apparently they were trashing theaters or whatever. I don't know.
Well,
but
if he's in a suit, he must know what he's doing.
Yeah. He's got to be in charge, right?
Then we have to talk about Barbie. It was a good film.
Yeah, Barbie's really good.
Margot Robbie was a fantastic Barbie.
Yeah.
And I thought it had some really good moments in there. There's some good comedy.
It did, yeah.
I felt a little sad because it did kind of feel like Barbie got upstaged in her own film.
Yeah, by Ryan Gosling.
By Gosling as
a little bit. Well, I feel like there was some commentary towards like the CEOs with like Will Ferrell's character and stuff, but they didn't go
anywhere with it.
Hard enough with it.
It was just kind of played for laughs.
Which obviously it's a movie that's paid for by Mattel, so why are they going to be like,
you should make fun of our CEO.
Just trash us. But there is some revisionist history to it too. If it's like, Barbie's like empowering women and not giving them body issues with her tiny waist. LOL. Forget that part of our past, please.
Yeah.
But as far as the movie's concerned, it's like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The music's great. Like Ryan Gosling's great. Margot Robbie's great. All the acting is
they did really good.
Really good in it. It's fun. Yeah.
Man, I tell you, we are just powering through this. Next up, we have Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury Season 2.
We've already talked about it. It's a good show.
Good. Check it out.
Just
watch it.
Continued the trend here.
Yep.
Wish we got more of it, honestly.
Yeah, I was sad that it was only a full core, not 2, but whatever.
Yeah.
Next up, 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I love this movie.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
What a
classic flashback.
Turtles in suits or people in suits.
People in turtle suits.
People in turtle suits. There it is.
Raphael yelling. Yeah.
Such a
good martial arts too for a 1990s
dudes wearing
film.
40 pounds of rubber.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how little vision they had in those suits? And
none.
They had
zero
flips with kicks and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did that to prep for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun.
It was.
I enjoyed this film a lot more than I expected to.
I like the animation. I love the new style of like we're going to have stylistic qualities
on top of
and
CGI.
I really think that Spider-Verse, the first one, it opened up the doors for these kind of companies. So then whenever you have like Illumination with Mario, you're like, okay, cool, we don't care about this. But then like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comes out and you're like, ooh, I can get behind this because it's really interesting and it's artistic.
Yeah, and I loved the voice cast of the Turtles. Jackie Chan did great as Splinter.
The Turtles chemistry was so good.
I think my only complaint was just like there was a lot of really ultra modern pop culture references that like
kind of dated.
Well, it only dated it. It's that same thing I have. Like they're referencing things from our world, not their fictional world.
Yeah.
And so it feels almost too meta.
A little too meta.
Yeah, it's like they're talking about people that we listen to on the radio.
And this was
shouldn't you have your fake version of it in your world?
This was the first time that the Turtles were voiced by people their age.
Teenagers. Teenagers. Yeah, and I think that pays off.
I think it really does. Sure. They have good chemistry.
The chemistry is so good in this.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Gladiator.
Great movie.
Classic.
Ridley Scott.
What a historical but not accurate epic.
Still fantastic. Joaquin Phoenix is great in this.
Great acting.
Russell Crowe does great in this. It's just such a fun movie. Fun in terms of
I was gonna
fun.
say fun.
Fun in terms of it's one of those movies where
you can throw it on.
Not only can you throw it on, but when I'm done with it every time, I'm like, yes. That was good.
This is the film that defined the personality of many, many men in their high school and college years.
Unfortunately, they all became Commodus.
So next up, we're Whiplash on this one. Kiki's Delivery Service.
My all-time favorite Ghibli film.
Little taste of Ghibli.
It sounded like a minute, like you said, Ricky's Delivery Service.
Ricky's Delivery Service.
That's a different movie altogether.
Yeah, that is Whiplash, but I love this movie. I'll watch it literally anytime.
Slice of life.
Kiki's is good. Yeah, it's very
phenomenal music,
really good music. It's just a good chill. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if I'm stressed, I can put on Kiki's and just
chill with it.
It does, and I said this in the review. It makes me want to go live in a small village
on the Mediterranean,
by the seaside, get a bicycle, and have a simple job. Quit this rat race.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah.
Next up, Minority Report.
Yeah,
this one's good.
This is very 2000s.
It's very 2000s movie, but still very good. I like this movie. I mean,
it's fine.
We obviously like Tom Cruise on this podcast. We watch a lot of his stuff. I'm looking directly at Andrew.
Wow.
But
so rude.
I think Minority Report is one of those movies that was very important for when it came out. It had a huge impact on
I think so.
Other choices. Yeah. It was my first time seeing it. Mm-hmm. It was fine.
I know that you called out that you predicted the final plot.
It was very predictable film.
He just looked it up on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Get out of here.
That's all it was.
Why did I read up about Minority?
We let
also,
him
how dare you talk about Tom Cruise that way in my love for him? Look, I don't have 5 different LDs of just him.
What's an LD, Steven?
Laserdisc.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
I was like, what?
Just him. So it's just a laser disc that just displays Tom Cruise on your TV.
It's just filled with Tom Cruise pictures. No. Here it's filled with Tom Cruise pictures, but because it's a laser disc, it holds 8 megabytes. So it's just one really glossy JPEG on each one,
or it's just some really small 300 kilobyte.
No, I have
150 by 150.
I have The Firm, Far and Away, Few Good Men, Few Good Men.
Yeah.
I'll think of the other 2.
I can just hear the listeners turning the episode off. Done now.
I can't. So next up, The Rock. And I believe that's another Patreon.
It was, yeah. 90s
was.
Action movies.
Yeah.
Just classic Michael Bay.
I think this is Michael Bay kind of at his peak, which is unfortunate because it's his first movie.
Well,
nowhere to go.
First real movie.
Nowhere to go but down from here.
It really definitely
straight to the Transformers
had that you see the Bayisms as they're being birthed.
But you have Sean Connery in here. You have Nicolas Cage doing what they do.
Just
buck wild.
Ed Harris is a fantastic bad guy.
They're just eating this script up like a salad. Just Yeah, Ed Harris is great. It's a really cool concept too.
It is.
Like as an action movie, and the execution. Like a lot of the action is good. There's some scenes that are not, like the chase in San
Like
Francisco, where they just put the camera on top of the hood and they just shook it really hard, and they're like, yeah, they're going down the road, and it's like they're absolutely on a soundstage, and some cameraman has got whiplash because you're throwing him around. Yeah.
Oh man. Next up is Interstellar.
This is my favorite Christopher Nolan film.
This is my first time seeing the film, and I liked it a lot.
It's a very good movie.
Until the end. The end gets a little...
It's great. So I actually just recently bought the 4-disc vinyl record.
Purchases and oh my god, and consumes media.
Well, no,
I got my Laserdisc and my vinyl record, and maybe the two never cross.
Well, no. So the cool thing
I've got a hand crank generator that powers both of them, and also churns butter.
It had like a whole basically a whole like excerpt from Hans Zimmer of like how they composed the music and stuff, which was really cool. And honestly, like the music is what really sells this movie for me.
Dude, it's a fantastic soundtrack. I love Matthew McConaughey in this movie too. I think he does a really good
He does a great job.
What are the names of the robots?
Tars and
MERS? No.
Cars?
SARS?
SARS, get in here.
But either way, the robots were my favorite. The interaction with the robots were great. And then the moment when the robot runs, it's like,
yeah.
Like, what? Here's a rectangle. What use are you? Oh my God.
That's a good way to intimidate your enemies.
Right? So next up, we have One Piece live action on Netflix.
The live action that was hypothetically unadaptable turned into
Undoable.
One of the most beloved live action adaptations ever.
Dude, I still remember my wife had seen the first episode. I hadn't. I was like, well, I need to catch up so we can watch some Friday night.
Yeah.
So I put one on, watched it. Cool. This was pretty good. We sat down Friday night. We'll watch one episode, maybe two.
Yeah.
4 episodes later. Yep, there we were.
It's great.
Well, and so I was obviously aware of One Piece, but had never really watched any of the anime, and then started it, and I was like, this is kind of really good. And my wife walked through the living room when I was in the middle of episode 1, and she did that thing. It was the same thing she did with Arcane, where she walked through, because I said, hey, do you want to watch this with me? No, you go ahead.
That doesn't sound very interesting.
And she goes out and comes back into
the threshold of the door,
starts watching and going like, what is this? And I was like, this is the One Piece live action. And she sat down, which she's a sucker for like Pirates of the Caribbean, swashbuckling and like that kind of stuff. So she loved it. And I think she loved I can't think of the actor's name, but Luffy, the character that played.
Inaki Godoy.
Yeah.
Yes.
His infectious positivity.
His toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity. Yeah. Well, so I think it's a really good execution of a anime adaptation for sure.
Well, and they
really
did a fantastic job with the stunts and the action and choreography, and all of the actors did their own stuff. And it makes it such a big difference because you get to see them do the thing, and there's no cuts and
it's not just that. Like, it frees up the cinematographer
to where they can move
the camera in the fight, do they do so many cool things with it.
It's really good.
And there's definitely a couple of fights where some of the cinematography isn't great. Some of the execution of the editing is
it could be a little bit tightened up. But that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah. It's overall it was a lot of fun.
Yes,
and I think it was very well executed.
I'm really looking forward to season 2.
I've seen a lot of recent articles of people kind of trashing it a little bit, but basically not saying that it was terrible, but just saying there's no such thing as a good anime adaptation. It was cringe. It was very cringe, and I'm like, you've got to be on board with what it is.
Anime is always cringe.
That was kind of the point of the article to a degree. They were like, it's all cringe.
It's all cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Case was the name of the other robot.
Case.
Tars and Case.
Tars and Cars.
Tars and Cars.
And their little brother SARS. Anyways, so next up, Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
This was my first Wes Anderson experience.
And also the best Wes Anderson film that he's made.
Oh, the problem is I haven't had time to watch others to even begin to dispute you on that because I don't know.
I mean, Moonrise Kingdom is good.
I love some Moonrise. I like a lot of his stuff.
I know you like a lot of his older stuff.
I like a lot of the older stuff too.
Either way,
I watched Asteroid City. I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, it was fine, but it's the most Wes Anderson of his films.
I've heard a lot of people though that are Wes Anderson fans say that Asteroid City is fine. It's not very memorable.
Yeah.
So
this film is fantastic.
No, Grand Budapest is amazing.
Budapest is
what a
great.
Trip.
Yeah.
The scene I always love when they they escape from jail, and he gets mad at
and then he Zero, and then he
and then
immediately-
apologizes
yeah.
like that arc of like they take you on such a
And
journey.
it's such good acting.
it's so
Fantastic,
good.
yeah, and all the miniatures, just it's a great movie.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh, the little miniature of the tram going up to the hotel.
Oh
every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Then we have, throughout this, we had quick reactions for Ahsoka.
Yep.
So we have our Ahsoka season 1 review.
Yep.
It's better than Mando season 3.
Definitely better than
I feel
Mando season 3.
Pretty safe saying that.
Yeah.
You know, Ray Stevenson did an amazing job as a semi-villain. Yeah. And
It was such an interesting take on like, so is this person a villain? He's just,
Yeah. we got
just standing
Thrawn.
there
Now,
menacingly.
Honestly, I still think the biggest takeaway from the season, though, was the music. The music was finally a good return to like basically Star Wars adjacent music.
Oh, man. And if you've listened to our quick reactions in the first episode, Andrew doesn't like the
I
music.
didn't like it.
They got him. They suckered him in.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's an amazing soundtrack. So whatever.
Well,
don't
I
know.
think it does help to have a little knowledge of Rebels.
Yes.
Going into this for sure. Because
Yeah.
I definitely felt lost in the first
you definitely
2 or
need
3.
to have some general knowledge of Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah,
This
because
is a show made for the hardcore fan.
Yes.
it is. Yeah, but overall, I enjoyed it a lot.
So then next up, we have The Creator.
The creator, the
much
most
promise.
disappointment-
Mile wide and an inch deep.
It was. That was on my birthday, and I don't want to remember that.
I loved the
man.
creator's
Join the
visuals.
club.
No, the
buddy.
visuals were incredible.
I think
like
the
best in
visuals
class.
of the creator and the way they executed it is incredible.
Yeah.
Like Gareth Edwards took a tiny crew. They flew to 80 different places around the world.
I want a movie in this universe, just not this movie.
Right. It's the movie itself just doesn't explore the depths of the ideas that it brings up.
They convinced like workers at a Taiwanese particle accelerator to let them in to film in there, and
Yeah.
then the workers were the extras. Like it was such a like an indie like guerrilla filmmaking moment.
Yeah. Well, so the
the
budget was
story
like
just-
80 million,
80 million.
which is nothing compared to a lot of blockbusters.
Well, especially
and
now, it's worth pointing out too when you say that and you look at the VFX that's going on in this film.
Yeah.
you're like, this is made for 80 million.
Well,
yeah.
because he only shot the scenes that he knew he was going to use.
yeah, so they edited the
They
entire
only
movie.
VFX.
Yes.
Edit. Yes.
They edited the entire movie and then said, okay, we only need VFX in this 3-second shot in this
Yep.
scene. Instead of like Disney where it's like, make us 10 minutes of VFX and then we'll probably cut it down to like a minute.
Yeah.
But you paid for all that CG and all that time, you know,
Yep.
and it's
Well,
like,
and they did a masterful job of going to really cool locations and then being like, well, we have kind of this small fishing village. Okay, put some really cool sci-fi big buildings in here afterwards. But we shot everything else. It's not like we're working from a blank canvas of a green screen.
yeah, they were on locations. And I think that the filmmaking aspects of the movie are more memorable and worthy of discussion than the film itself.
The story,
That's
the story
the unfortunate
doesn't
part.
do it justice.
I would love to see later on if there's going to be a director's cut of it or something like that, because there's a lot of missing threads in this film that could make it a good film. It's just we didn't have those.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, here's our first foray into new territory. Our first unscripted
Oh, yeah.
binge watching versus serialized releases.
Yeah, that was a good episode. 'Cause
I actually think that was actually a really good episode.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think serialized is the way to go, but I'm also an anime junkie, so that's kind of what I live and breathe by.
I feel like it works either way.
I think, it just depends.
Depends on the
this is
stuff.
America, Andrew, and the fact that we have the freedom to choose is what's important. Like as someone who wants to watch things weekly and build and people talk about it, I also sit down and watch 5 episodes of One Piece in a day. And thank you Netflix for letting me do that.
Yeah,
you know,
I get it. I get it.
yeah.
But no, that was actually a really fun episode, and I'm looking forward to doing more unscripted.
Yeah.
So then we have we are deep into October. Our October viewing of The Addams Family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very good.
This is such a 90s film.
I
is.
love it though. I love the Addams Family. I love Gomez Addams. That one line.
Christopher Lloyd is a little bit too much for me in this one.
Oh, take it back.
Take that all.
Take it back.
Take all of that back.
The line that always gets me is when Gordon's mom is acting
I'm
like
thinking of a little dark monster.
Yeah, she's
Pugsley.
like the dark monster. And he goes, Pugsley. And he says it with such like, I'm so excited. And she's like, No, I'm talking about jealousy. He's like, oh. He's so disappointed. Raul Julia just like,
oh, he just killed
he's
it.
so good.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that line every time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of this little dark monster, Pugsley.
I think too, like the set design and like the costumes, they just did it. They did a really good job to make it feel tactile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we enter the month of November.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to do martial arts.
Martial arts.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Yep.
Kick it off with Ip Man.
Fantastic
Yep.
film.
Oh, man,
a
what a
great
good
franchise.
film.
Not very historically accurate.
Not at all.
What was it? We let it off with there are 3 historically accurate things that happened in this film.
This
he
guy
does
was named-
exist. His name is correct. He lived in China. Done.
End of list. Yeah. But just Donnie Yen doing great Donnie Yen stuff.
I mean, I would still consider his fight against the 10 black belts to be like one of the most iconic in just like a lot of martial arts films.
Oh, yeah.
in
There are
general.
some spectacular martial arts just moments in this
Yes.
film.
Yeah.
But man, just like him just playing drums on this guy's face. And he's like,
I still love the fight between him and the
gang leader.
gang leader dude
Yeah.
who comes in the house.
at the first time? Oh, yeah.
When he like insults him, and then
Yes.
his wife is just like, "Don't break my thing."
Yeah.
Leaves.
She's like, she don't want him to
I'll pay for
fight.
that.
turn to like, okay, take care of business. Don't break my stuff is like, that's just such a satisfying.
it's good.
Oh, yeah. So then, to keep up with it, we had another unscripted martial arts showdowns. So this gave us an opportunity to talk about all kinds of fights.
all sorts of fantastic ones.
Lots of good fights in that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally worth checking out as a good recommendation for martial arts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next up, we have Enter the Dragon.
The most quintessential 70s
Oh my gosh, this
martial arts film you could think
There are some
of.
moments midway through this film. I was like, wait, hold on. Is this a no? Okay. Where is this going? I don't remember
What is
this.
about to happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that is just so 70s.
It's so
very 70s.
emphatically 70s.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my God.
I don't think that's a bad thing. It just
No.
knows what it is. And it honestly, like, it has a really good soundtrack.
It does. Yeah.
It has a really
Soundtrack
good
is really good.
cast.
I mean, the cast is great.
yeah.
I mean, Bruce Lee does a really good job.
Of course.
You know.
It makes you aware of like why Bruce Lee was so popular.
Well, and it's so much more violent than what I remember it being.
Oh, yeah.
Really, like
Yeah.
a graphic
Love
violence
that.
is kind of like, there's a lot of blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still love putting the cobra in the room.
He just throws it in there. Like they jump out the
Dude
window.
Yeah.
shattering through the window. Let's see here. We finished off Martial Arts Month with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
A true classic.
This is one of the most mediocre films.
Steven is not hot on it.
It's got a couple of
I
really
love
good
this
Me
moments.
and Ryan are right on.
It's got a
on
couple
board.
of really high highs, and then everything else is just flatline.
Got Michelle Yeoh in there.
Yeah, she's
Like,
fantastic.
Oh, it's got some great
Chow Yun
cast.
Fat does great.
They
like,
took Chow Yun Fat aside and convinced him to cut his hair like that.
Well, and the other thing is too is like you have one of the it's a really big downer ending.
It's for
sure.
It's not
Yeah.
a positive film in any
but
way, shape, or
that's
form.
the story. That's
But
what it's
yeah,
supposed
it's
to
just
be.
what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. I know.
I still just want to know if that's the 4th book in a series. What can we hear the rest of these stories?
Yeah, you just got to read them.
Yeah, just,
I got just going to learn, Mandarin or whatever.
Yeah, hurry up.
I'm sure they have it translated by now.
No,
Andrew, did you just say that? Did you encourage not in the original language? Oh my gosh, who are you?
subs versus dubs. You heard it
No,
here
that's
first.
the thing.
The
There
subs
is-
versus dubs of
there
books.
is- okay, like I'll just
Do
say
they
this
have dubs of
definitively.
books?
I will say this definitively. There is literally there should not be an argument for subs versus dubs because if you're watching it, that is the most important part.
Wow, the Mother Teresa of our times, right here, Steve.
So,
What an altruistic guy.
you want to talk about if you are watching it, that is the most important part. Next up is Napoleon.
I mean,
Watching it is half the battle.
Finishing it is the other half of the battle.
No, it's a great movie about a toxic relationship, and there's some really good battles in it.
pretty much
Joaquin Phoenix
You
does
used
good.
a word in there I don't know if I agree with, but
Which part? Toxic.
battles.
great.
I, mean, I thought
Steven doesn't agree with
It's
battles.
Oh,
Get out of here.
the word battles. I thought Ridley Scott does good with battles. He does good with framing them and executing them.
He does.
The battles are good.
So what
would
did you
have
not
liked
like?
more. Well, we talked
It's
about
just
it in the
long.
episode.
It's just vignettes.
It's long,
of
yeah.
his
it's
life.
slow. It's disjointed.
Yeah, there's probably
Yeah.
a 6-hour director's cut of this film.
4.5 or something like that. I think is what it is.
Yeah. Like, and they'll release it on Apple TV, and then
Yeah.
we'll watch it, and we're like, "Wow, this is so much better."
It really might be better.
know.
It
Maybe
might
so.
flow
I don't
better,
know
but
if
it's
I'd say
still
that or
it's just like I had a friend at work who was
it's a
like,
lot.
"Have you seen Napoleon?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Would you recommend it?" I was like, well, "Let me ask you a question. Did you watch Joker?" And he's like, "Yeah." I go, what did you think about it? He goes, I really liked Joaquin's performance. Other than that, I go, well, you'd love Napoleon. If you're in it for Joaquin Phoenix's performance, buckle up. You'll have a good time.
Yeah.
But like otherwise, you need to have a certain level of knowledge of like French history
and
because they don't hold your hand on a lot of that.
No.
And then they
Music
don't
was
give
good.
context to a lot of stuff. It's like a series of vignettes. It's fine. It's, you know,
I mean, at the end of the day,
It could be more tied together.
a little bit.
They let a British knight make a film about Britain's least favorite person. So
I mean, it seems to be on brand then.
yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
So then the one that is important to be watching, Godzilla -1.
Yes.
Love this movie.
This movie is so good.
This is a contender for best movie of the year,
It should be.
which is
If it's not already.
like a personal list. On a personal
Okay, I
list.
was like, you mean the Academy has already spoken. -1.
No, like the personal list, absolutely. This is definitely one of the best films of
Yeah.
the
A
year.
pretty incredible right? Suzume is in this year.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse is in this year.
Yeah.
There's-
Oppenheimer is in this year.
Oppenheimer.
Like
Yeah.
that's a pretty crazy endorsement
Yes.
because it's up there. This is
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a fantastic film.
and
if-
also Godzilla was there.
yes. Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's not even like it's a good Godzilla film. It's also just a good film.
Yeah. No,
Man,
it's really good. And if you're listening to this and you have not watched Godzilla -1, when it's available to rent or whatever,
Watch this
please
movie.
watch
I
it.
feel like it's still in theaters.
Well,
isn't it?
actually, at the time
It
of
was.
recording,
I don't know if it is by the time this comes
I was going to say,
out.
by the time this comes out, who
Well,
knows?
so at the time of the recording, they have announced that they're going to do a whole black and white version of the film and re-release it in theaters.
I know it was going to be in Japan.
It's going to be in Japan. I don't know
I
if
don't
they've
know if it'll
announced
make its
it
way over
over here. I'm not sure how I feel about that because it's just desaturating the film, and I already don't like that anyways. But I don't know.
Like right now, I think the U.S. domestic take is greater than the international
It is.
take, which is crazy.
It made more
know.
here in the U.S. than it did in Japan.
There are so many
crazy.
things that have happened this year that I hope Hollywood learns
No,
lessons.
they're not going to learn
They're
the
gonna,
right
no, they're going to
lessons.
learn lessons.
Yeah.
Just the wrong one.
The
They're
wrong
gonna
ones.
learn the wrong ones.
Yeah. But like you look at like The Boy and the Heron is doing really well. That's a hand animated movie.
Yes.
Hollywood. Hello. You know, like you've got a
Disney.
Yeah, Disney.
Well,
It was your 100th anniversary. You can't release a hand animated film.
and they're
Boy
like,
and
we
the
only
Heron-
got 2 hand animators left, and they're overnight janitors, so we can't.
They're both left-handed.
Well, Boy and the
Can't work on
Heron
the same
made
desk.
more money than Spirited Away did in its run, and that was an Academy Award nominee.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like, just learn the right lessons, please. I know you won't, but
yeah.
it would be nice if you did.
We can
It would
beg.
be nice.
We can beg.
Yeah.
So we're capping off the year here with Jingle All the Way.
Yep. I'm not
Actually,
sure if it's a Christmas classic, but it's a movie that,
penultimate here. Actually,
yeah, it's one that I watch every year.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to watch it every year because this is again my first time seeing this film. It was fun. It was a trip. Also, though, there's a lot of '90s going on in that film.
There's a lot going
A
on.
lot of '90s in there.
down.
Well, I can go get her out of the shower. No,
No.
Sinbad blowing up a bunch of police.
Yeah. This movie is bonkers.
This movie is bonkers, and I feel like the biggest detractor to it is that it could have been more bonkers. Like they could have gone even more lean into more comedy and more absurdistness. It almost like plays it too safe sometimes.
Sometimes.
But yeah, it's overall it's a fun.
Yeah.
You can just throw it on, have a good time. Holiday movie.
Yep.
And then the actual cap of the year here is our final foray. Final foray. Well,
Final foray.
Final foray. But our second foray, not the final foray. Second
What if that's how
foray
they said it during March? The final foray.
into Indian cinema.
Indian cinema. So this is a Bollywood film.
This is a Bollywood film now instead of a Tollywood film. This is Jawan. Jawan. You gotta find that song.
Yeah, that's.
Yes.
I was pointing at him
That's
to
what
cue
you're.
it up.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what does he do. Oh, he's indicating music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to get to the. Are you ready?
Ready.
Oh wait, I think I already missed it. Hold on.
No. I think it starts at the B.
It's not the beginning. It's like 30 seconds in.
Yeah.
Oh man, the music in this film is so good.
It really is.
And this is
They had
very.
like multiple like musical numbers that had
That's
bangers.
what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
how you know it's a Bollywood film. Is they're like, hey, you're watching a movie. Would you also like a music video in the middle of your movie? Because
Yeah.
you've got one, maybe two.
Here it comes.
Ready.
Yeah.
Oh man. Man, the stunts, the action sequences in this film.
It's all just
buck wild off the chart.
Man, so I made a playlist recently on Spotify, just like my end of the year bangers. You know, I was like, I got to add this. I forgot about that.
When I listen, like, so I have this on one of my soundtrack playlists. Whenever I listen to that song, I'm just like, I just got to go watch this movie again.
I know.
Like, you're just like, ooh, yeah, this hits.
Jawan is, man.
It's buck wild.
What a movie.
It's so different than RRR, too.
Right,
Yeah.
Like halfway
Yeah.
through the film, I was like, I don't know if I like this as much as I like RRR. It's really different. And then by the end of the film, I'm like, man, this is so good.
I know.
I still don't know if I like it more than RRR, but there's different.
I like
different
RRR
flavors.
more, but they're two completely different films.
And they're both
Which, I mean, they should
satisfying.
be, yeah.
Yeah,
But, like,
that's what happens when you watch two different movies.
like
Andrew doesn't understand.
well, you have SRK in here who plays basically two different roles.
Right.
Like he's his son and his dad.
Confused the crap out of me midway through the film. Wait, hold on, what's going on?
But yeah, I mean, it's just a really fun film for
it's
how
such a
absurd it
good
is.
It
film.
is. And like, you know, if I can see where it cribs from some other stuff here and there,
Yeah.
but like the execution's great. Like,
But like, so
it's just a lot of fun.
watching this, having watched RRR, and then watching
Yeah.
this, now has, you know, like my wife sending me, you know, article lists of like
Suggestions.
best 15 films to watch if you're interested in India cinema. She's like, we should watch one of these.
you know, I know we're gonna-
She's suggesting it's like a 3-hour film to me.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do Bahubali 1 and 2
Yeah.
at some point because that's always been, I guess, a quintessential classic
Well,
for
we've got
Indian film.
We've got
Yeah.
requests for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So
we gotta
like
please the
we
listeners.
definitely have plans for that, and
I've watched like trailers for like 3 other SRK movies since we did Joanna. I'm like, we should review all of these. Like, these look bonkers.
like, so it's one of those things where like whenever you go into these movies and you know you're kind of what you're getting into. It's just going to be absolute bonkers, off over the top stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's just Fast and Furious. I'm like, it's not, because they lean into exactly what makes it fun. And they don't play it straight like Fast
they don't
and Furious
take it
does.
too seriously.
Yeah.
That's where the Fast and the Furious movies, and even like totally random franchise, but the Expendables, like when those movies came out,
But it is a good comparison for Jawan, actually.
it
in
is
a lot of ways.
It's like those movies are so self-serious and they take themselves so it sucks all the fun out of it.
Where like these like Jawan is like, it knows exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But it's important though also to say like the people in this film, they're giving 110%, right?
Yes.
Like
Oh,
they're
sure.
putting their all into it. It's just they know what they're making.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not that like, oh man, the motorcycle sequence, he gets off and kicks into the spin and then just flicks the cigarette into it.
Yeah. It
So
knows what it is.
It took me I think I rewatched part of it to notice that the sparks from
Are his heel.
comes up and lights the cigarette, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, someone did that! Someone animated that!" I was like, "Yes."
Someone sat down and they're like storyboarding this out. And you're like, you know what would be awesome? That would be awesome. You know what would be more awesome? Oh, dude, what if you? Oh yeah, put that in. Put it in.
What should we cut out? Nothing. Put it all in.
It's all in there.
Well, and that's the thing is like, it really does feel like you have all these really fun creative ideas with these films.
Yeah.
And they're just like, just put it all in. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's and kind of going back to Rogue Nation, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like, hey, we have the stunts we want to do, but we don't have the story to put it together. This still feels like a cohesive story.
It does.
It did.
And it
yeah.
actually, because we watched the director
Extended
version.
Extended edition.
All the threads that it starts at the start, it ties up flawlessly in a little bow at the end.
And it somehow pulls everything together.
Yeah.
And it's an embarrassment to other Hollywood movies that have like all these less plot threads and can't pull it together at the
can't
end.
keep track of
I'm
them.
like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
It's so easy.
This movie's embarrassing everyone.
But I really do think that this was a good movie to end the year on, just because
Yeah.
it's just bonkers.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. And it's on Netflix.
Yeah,
so you can
it's-
go watch it now.
It and RRR super accessible. Like if you want to watch them, they're out there.
Yeah.
And you should watch them. Speaking of something else you should do.
Yes.
For $1 a month.
$1 a month. We're going to promote our Patreon. Again, thank you so much to all of our patrons who've been
Thank
supporting
you.
us throughout
all
the year.
of our patrons.
And you know, we understand you're already at the end of this episode now. This was a long episode.
was.
Especially longer than what we're used
This
to
is a
normally
long
doing
haul
lately.
through the whole year.
Yes.
Yeah.
You only get one.
You only get one a year.
One a year.
Yeah.
You only get one.
It'd be weird to do a
Andy.
year in review twice in a year.
I don't know. We could do a year in review like the second week of January and have one episode to talk about.
It's like a 10-minute episode.
Every week is the next year in review for the year. Just covers. Anyway, if you want to hear us go off down other bonkers rabbit holes,
Yes.
with your $1 a month will get you access to all of our bonus episodes. Things like we went to ChatGPT and gave it a film genre and said, give us some titles. And then we sat down and tried to cast the film, write the plot, and it gets, the deeper we go, the further off the rails it gets.
Yeah. By the end of it, we had hit such a rhythm that I was like, we should just be writing for Hollywood.
We
like,
made such a good Wes Anderson film at the end of that episode. Oh my God.
the quadplex.
Well, so, obviously we're talking about stuff that we've done in the past.
Yes.
Can we give a little bit of a general hint of what we're going to be doing?
I'll throw it
for
out
some
there.
bonus episodes coming up?
By all means.
Yeah, so we have coming up this coming year, there's no guarantee of when these will hit.
But you are guaranteed one episode a month.
Guaranteed one episode a month. But we're going to have basically a soundtrack quiz show.
Oh, yeah.
So if you liked some of the past ones that we've done, this is going to be...
With the dog training tools.
Yeah, with the dog training buttons, we have a ChatGPT Dear Abby.
Oh, yeah.
I think when we were brainstorming on that, like that started out with like, we've got a good idea. No, we can't do this. Then we finished. We're like, this is going to be a good idea.
And so if you don't know what that means, just from that weird run-on sentence of words that shouldn't be together, we're going to ask ChatGPT for fake Dear Abby questions, and we are going to answer the relationship advice
to the best of our ability.
To the best of our abilities. It's going to be fantastic.
Three married men.
You loved us fighting presidents. You're going to love us fighting monarchs.
Yes, we're going to fight.
We are here to show that Napoleon could have done better. All right. Well, on that note, thank you all for sticking with us through a wonderful 2023. We are looking forward to a banger of a 2024. We've got a lot of great things planned and in the works.
Yep.
But until next time, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
And every review was intended?
Sure, why not?